So I went a little crazy, didn't realize the time, and I actually finished all of the work, but we only got to here. So I am going to now finish the video, but you can see the quick thing right there. Let's do it. So we found that the roots, I'm not exactly sure where it got cut off, so far were -3. And then we realized that we had to do this using the quadratic formula. And then so for me, I identified A, B, and C. Okay? We've been getting a lot of announcements happening during this. Sorry about that. So then I'm going to go negative of -3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. You can tell I plan ahead because this is before break. Okay? All right. So then what I like to do is I like taking care of that first. Now some of you go, you know what, I'm going to pause it. So as I said, I like to take care of the square root first. And some of you go, Miss Rifkin, you didn't put -3. Well, when you square a negative, it turns positive, so I don't even deal with it. So 3 squared is 9. 4 times 1 times 9 is 36. 9 minus 36 is 27. Now remember, whenever we have a negative, that means we're going to have an I. And then I'm going to birthday cake the 27. So I'm going to come over here, if you guys remember the birthday cake. That's when you divide. Think of the smallest number that goes in. 2 doesn't work. 3 does, 9 times. 3 does, 3 times. 3 times 1. Remember, it's like the candle, so you're done. The circle, the doubles, that's what goes on the outside. What's left goes on the inside. So I'm going to come over here now, and I'm going to go 3i rad 3. And then a negative of a negative is a positive over 2. These are my other 2 roots, which I put up here. Okay? So that's what I did there. Now they want to know how many real answers. There's 1. That's really a number. And there are 2 imaginaries. And you go, well, how do you know it's imaginary? If it has an I, that means you know it is imaginary. Okay? Now if you look, 1 plus 2 is 3, and it's a cubic function. So I'm going to grab my Desmos real quick and show you something. One sec. So I want to show you, I took this and I graphed it into Desmos, and if you look, it crosses 1 time. It crosses at -3, that's my real answer. But if you look, it doesn't cross the x-axis any more times. But I have to show that it's a cubic function. So right now, if I only gave 1 0, I would think it was a line. But it is cubic, so that means that accounts for my 2 imaginaries. So remember, a cubic function looks something like this, which is why it looks like that. Okay? All right, let's go to the next page, is factor by grouping. All right, so I know this is a long one, but these are all types of factoring that we need to make sure we're solid on, okay? So you'll know something is factor by grouping because there are 4 of them, and you can GCF them. What does that mean? That means they have something the same, okay? So I'm going to do the first one. It'll be weird at first, but then I think you'll get the game. So there's 4 of them. Okay, that's good. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them. 1, 2. Do you notice I've got to keep that plus in there? And then I GCF them. So some of you are really good at GCF, and you can just see it. 5x squared. Not all of us are there, and that's fine. There isn't a judgment. We're all in different places, and that's great. If I'm struggling on how to do this, I lay it all out. 25 is 5 times 5. X, X, X. Negative 5 times 2, X, X. Circle what is the same. 5, 5, X, 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 5X squared. Then what am I left with? 5X minus 2. All right? Then I come over here and I do the same thing. If you can do it in your head, great. If you can't, great. 3 times 5x, negative 2 times 3. It doesn't matter who's negative. Focus on the 3. So I take out a 3. And then I'm left with 5x minus 2. Now, when you're doing factor by grouping, there is always going to be a match. If there is not a match, it's not factor by grouping, or you did it wrong. Okay, there's always going to be a match. So look at, here's the match, 5x minus 2. So you take that 5x minus 2, and you write it. And then whatever's left, I'll put this in, I'll be green, whatever. The 5x squared and the 3 will go in the other parenthesis. So 5x squared, this is positive, plus 3, and you have factored it. All right, let's do another one. Okay, factor by grouping. So I take the first 2, I take the second 2. I can either do this little box, or I can just see it. Good for me if I can see it. Good for me if I need the box. It doesn't matter. Now the problem with this is there is no factor that goes into both. But you have to have a number here, so you put a 1. And then what do you know? You have a match. The match is what comes first. And then whatever's left goes here. Okay. And some of you go, but there's 2 of these. Okay, there's 2 of these, but we don't take out both of them and put a 9. We say that's what's the same. We factor it out. We're kind of doing extra factoring. Okay? All right, let's look at this one. Factor by grouping. Make sure you include that minus in there. Notice how they're very, very similar. So this I can take out a 4x squared, and I'm left with 3x minus 5. Now, we've established that if we take out a 1, then we're left with negative 3x plus 5. The problem is that's positive and that's negative. That's negative and that's positive, so they're not a match, but they're like the opposite match. So if I take out a negative 1, then that negative turns positive, and that positive turns negative, and then yes, there is a match. And whatever's left goes here. Oops, I didn't need to do it on green. Okay? Now some of you go, cool, put a cute little box around it. No. I'm going to put this in blue because I can keep factoring. This is difference of squares. Okay? So square root, 2x and 1. So let me rewrite the 3x minus 5 so I don't forget it. Sorry you can't see that. Then 2 sets of parentheses. 2x, 2x. Square root of 1 is 1, 1. 1 gets a plus, 1 gets a minus, and I'm done. I encourage you to attend the Zooms. We'll do more practice on those types of things. To me, these don't seem that difficult when you do them in isolation, but once you mix them up with other things, then it's really difficult to figure out what to do. Okay? All right, let's do this one. Factor by grouping. Don't forget that negative. You take out 2x, 9x minus 1. Okay. Wow, this one's just totally off. I don't know if this one's... And then this is negative 3. And then 2x minus 3. Now, how did I know to take out a negative? See how this is positive negative, and this is negative positive? So that means that I'm going to have to take out a negative in order for it to work. But what's the problem with this one that I made? I obviously made up a problem that is not factor by grouping. So I do see something interesting, though. These are the same. So I'm going to go 18x squared. Wait, oh, that's minus 8x plus 9. And I actually created a problem that is not factorable. Because when I try to magic x this, I can't find 2 numbers that multiply a big number and add to a negative. If some of you go, what? Don't worry, it's not factorable. Okay? All right. So now this time it's saying find the zeros. So this is the same thing as this problem. Except it's not just saying factor, it's saying find the zeros. So I'm going to have to factor it, which I'm going to cheat, copy this. Now the key is, oops, I set it equal to 0. When it says find the zero, set it equal to 0. So I take this, set it equal to 0. Some of us are good at doing it in our head. Some of us need to show work. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment. Get the answer. Don't cheat. Be proud of yourself. Then take this one. 2x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1. Divide by 2. Now, how do you know I'm right? I can come over here. I can go to Desmos. I can graph it. So if I was to do that, it's going to take a long time, but I think it's important for you to see it, to remember because it's been a while. 10x, wait, that's squared, not cubed. Okay, let me pause it real quick. So I graphed it, and I can see it crosses the x-axis at negative 0.5, which is negative 1/2. And it crosses at 1.67, which is 5/3. And some of you go, I don't know that it's 5/3. If you go 5 divided by 3, it says 1.666. And let me remind you, remember this little fraction button? If you press this, it can turn back into a fraction. So you know you're good to go. Okay? All right, find the roots. So what do? That means I'm going to set it equal to 0. It's what we did here. Okay, now look at this. Since this was squared, I had 2 roots. But this is cubed, which means how many roots am I going to have? 3. 1, 2, 3, because this is the same problem. Notice how they are similar, but a little bit different. Set this equal to 0, 5/3. This is negative 1/2, and this is positive 1/2. Okay? 3 roots. All of them are real. Real. Okay. So find the zeros of each of these functions. I think I'm just going to make this a lesson in class. So this is what we'll do on Zoom. Okay? Let me turn the page and show you your homework. So what I'm going to want you to do is I'm going to want you to factor advanced polynomials. And I think I'm just going to do a couple of them, then you'll do the rest. Do you remember this from quarter 1? X to the 4th? I don't know what that is. But if I go back to a simple place, my happy place, I do my cute little magic X. 2 numbers that multiply, 2 numbers that add. And all I want you to do is factor, don't solve them, okay? Then I'm going to get parentheses, x minus 5, which is x minus 5 squared. The problem is it's x to the 4th, so that's going to have to be squared, because x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. You'll do that one and that one. Those are similar. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. GCF this first because they're all divisible by a number. Okay? This one, what would you do? I actually want to do this one, okay? So this one looks like it could be the difference of cubes or the difference of squares, but you can't take out 72. I mean, you can't square root of 72, but I can take out a 9. Now this is the difference of cubes. What times what times what is x to the 15th? What times what times what is 8? Okay. Now, take down the 9. Little parenthesis, big parenthesis. Bring this down. If this is minus, this is minus. Square this guy. Sometimes it's nice to write it down. Square this one. Take these 2, put them together. If this is minus, this is plus. Plus. Now, if you're not sure and you don't think I'm right, take this, graph it. Take this, graph it, and these 2 should be on top of each other. Okay? I think, man, these are almost too advanced. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to make this homework, this homework, this homework, and this homework. And then I'm actually going to make this homework. So I changed my mind. So you will take a picture and do these problems for homework and do these 4 problems for homework too. I will decide what I'm going to do about these. Okay? And that's it.